Well, hey, what is going on? Liberty fans, welcome to the Sea of Red live podcast. This is the basketball edition, presented as always by Jason Porter Real Estate, covering all of your residential and commercial real estate needs in the Lynchburg area, and our newest partner, Ironclad Coffee. I am joined once again by my co-host, the Dr. William Matthews. Will, what a road trip in Jacksonville for the Flames.
Yeah, man, I was going to open up saying it's a cold, rainy night here in North Kakalaki, but Jacksonville is still feeling the radiation from the flames.
Beautiful. Love it. Well, we'll get into all of that here in a minute. We got a big show. Big show tonight. Kyle Rhodes going to be joining us here in just a minute. And we also have got our guy Paul Nazigan back on the show with us. Excited to get his thoughts. Thought this was a perfect week to invite Naz to come on after two big road games where we didn't get to hear him. So excited to hear from Paul here in a little bit. Before we do get started, if you are watching tonight on YouTube, please take 2 seconds and hit that like button. And while you're also there, please subscribe to the channel. All kinds of great content, press conferences, baseball stuff, basketball stuff, all kinds of good stuff. And then the See Red Live podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Be sure to subscribe, 5-star review, all that kind of stuff. Really helps us grow the show. Well, let's jump right into it. Just a incredible weekend for Liberty. Taking 2 games down in the Jacksonville area. The first one, 66-52 win over the Jacksonville University. Just a dominant second half performance. Darius McGee passes J.J. Redick, another accolade. Jacksonville held to 2 of 16 shooting at home from 3. The defense just playing electric. Will, what was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, JJ Redick's a chump, man. Hey, Liberty was only favored by 4 points coming into this game. So fins down. Only shot 30%, but you really got to the line to help themselves out. Strong post play by Blake Preston. Nick, is he looking more to you like Scotty James just with his physicality than maybe, maybe not Scotty James, but just being more physical overall from year to year?
Yeah, maybe more like on the defensive end, and I mean he's a bucket around the rim. I mean he's shooting like almost 70%. It's wild if you look through his splits. Like 90% of his shots are dunks or layups. He has like 6 shots that aren't a layup.
Yeah.
And no 3-point attempts. So he's a little bit different in Scotty James in that regard. Not as athletic, but he's been a force. He's looking like that guy we saw in the Chris Parker season where he was. I legit think he was one of the best players on that team. And then I don't think it was him. I don't think he ever did anything wrong. I just think he didn't maybe fit like the system last year where you had like guys like Keegan McDowell and it was just really stretch the floor and shoot a lot of threes. But he's been an absolute difference maker for this team, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what I meant by Scotty James was, when you watch those teams, Scotty was just so dominant against the ASUN. And it looks like Blake is getting to that point where he's just dominating, everybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, where I don't know how Blake would fare in a game against maybe some high major competition, but in this role right here, he's doing as well as he could, and he was even better on a Saturday against North Florida, 17 points. So for the weekend, he had 31 points. He was a force on both ends of the floor. This one, it just felt like he just dominated North Florida. What's your thoughts on this win in North Florida?
Yeah, Liberty's not like a big offensive rebound team. It looks like they were getting a lot of those in both games, but North Florida especially. This was one of the more fun games to watch this year. And I think maybe a lot of that was just because we knew the history against North Florida at UNF. So that played into it a lot. And also just, how good the league is. But, all year, everybody has said, like, who's the next guy that's going to step up when Darius has an off game? Well, this was Darius's off game, and it wasn't just one guy. I mean, it was three guys, Preston, Robinson, and Rode all had, and Rode, was in foul trouble for, a good portion of the game. But Blake Preston, can't say enough about, what he's doing. Shiloh had the double-double there. Just a great, it felt like at times they were firing on all cylinders during this game.
And they shot well from three. They shot like over 50%, I believe, in this game from three. But they shot way worse inside the arc. Liberty just completely dominated, and that's a great point on the offensive rebound. Seems like maybe there's a little bit more freedom with this team in terms of going for offensive rebounds. And I love that. I know that doesn't necessarily fit with all of the pack line principles, but when you have elite shooters, you hear it all the time from broadcasters, the best time to get an open three is off an offensive rebound. So that might be a good question for Kyle. Ask him about offensive rebounds and creating some threes as well. Just a great win. Great road trip for Liberty. I do not think you could have drawn it up any better than these two games. And we'll see what's to come. Take a quick look here at the ASUN standings. It is Liberty and Kennesaw at the top at 7-1 all alone, and then Stetson and EKU at 6-2. Florida Gulf Coast down at 4-4, and Jacksonville. Those were the number 2 and number 3 teams we thought coming in to conference play, and then Jacksonville State down at 1-7. That just that looks pretty weird. And before we get to Kyle, we're gonna take a quick look here. This is if the ASUN tournament started today. I think we're only a third of the way through conference play, so there'll be a lot of shuffling. One thing I don't think a lot of people knew, I honestly didn't even know this until I was watching the Austin P game on Saturday, and they were talking about it. The bottom 4 do not make the tournament this year. So that's going to make for some interesting late season games. Liberty, of course, the last 2 games were against Queens, who is like number 9 right now. So if Queens, kind of stumbles a little bit, those could be 2 very trap type games for Liberty, because Liberty's going to already have probably at least a bye locked up, and Queens is going to be playing for literally their season. So that's kind of an interesting storyline. Any quick thoughts here on kind of where things stand with what the bracket would look like now?
Yeah, Queens will be playing with house money, much like Bellarmine did last year. North Florida, man, they've got some players. Placer, I think, and he shot lights out. I wouldn't want to see him again. So I would maybe want to switch one of those teams out with maybe Jacksonville or Bellarmine. But overall, I mean, I would much rather face Lipscomb in that next round in the semifinals than maybe like a Eastern Kentucky or a Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, and it does reseed though, so it's
okay, that's right.
Not a true.
I always forget about that. Yeah,
but we'll keep updating this again. Take this very much with a grain of salt. Probably 2 or 3 of these teams will actually end up in the spot they are. We of course hope Liberty remains in that number 1 spot, and you know what? I believe they will. All right, well, let's get to it. Let's bring on our guy Kyle Rode. All right. Joined now by Kyle Rode and Jason Porter. Kyle, what a huge weekend for you guys. Congrats on the 2 big wins. Jason, take it away with our first question of the night.
Wow. All right. Well, good evening, gentlemen. Good to see everybody tonight. Kyle, I think my biggest question, looking at the stat line last night, specifically in regards to, I guess, Saturday's game, just with Blake and Shiloh being able to really fill in some points as the big guys. Was that something that you guys saw in the scout coming into that game, or did that just kind of happen to bounce that way and those guys had a lot of open looks? Obviously, offensive rebounding, the rebound stats was huge.
Yeah, no, they were beasts, weren't they? I mean, they did a great job. It seemed like they were always in the right spot offensively, and Colin Porter had, I think, 9 assists, and Darius, he tracks so much, and so when those guys are able to get opportunities around the rim, we feel pretty confident that they'll be efficient, and they did a good job at that. And then like I heard them mention about offensive rebounds, JV, I think, had 13 rebounds, and probably more of those were offensive rebounds than defensive. So we have three guys, and those guys that just every night we feel can dominate the glass and have the freedom to do so, and that's part of their role. So it's super cool to see Shy, Blake, and JV do that, and then doesn't happen without the guards creating for them though too. So it's a total team thing, total flow of the game thing. So
yeah, hey, and I've noticed too with the offensive rebounds, usually you only have like one guy down there, off of a shot. How intentional is that, and how much does that help? When you're able to get four guys back to set up your defense.
yeah, no, I think every time you shoot, you hope it goes in, right? So hopefully you don't have
Of
to send
course.
too many guys to the glass. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's a big thing for us. Transition buckets. We feel like teams want to get out and run against us. So oftentimes we don't prioritize offensive rebounding, but at the same time, when you got guys that are so natural at it and can get you extra possessions in a game, it could be another point every possession. So that's huge in the outcome of any game, especially close games. So those are so valuable for us.
Kyle, the North Florida game, they shot 4 for 15 from inside the arc. Have you? And they shot great behind the arc, 56%. Have you ever been a part of a game where your defense was just that good inside the arc?
I feel like we do a good job of when that thing does get in the pack line. We try to make it tough, man, and that's what they like to shoot threes. So if we felt like we could make them take some tougher twos and outlast them in that way, and it would work out for us. And they actually hit a few tough ones early, man. And you saw probably our bench just like encouraging our guys, hey, keep going. We'll take tough twos all night. So. I didn't know that exact stat, but it showed in the outcome for sure.
Yeah, that's funny, Kyle. Sorry, Jason, to cut you off. But yeah, I was watching that game and like they would hit a three or like go to the two, and you guys were like cheering, and it was like I don't know if I've ever seen a basketball team cheer, when the other team made a basket, but I know you guys are just looking at the quality of defense there.
Yeah, 100%. We feel like when one of our guys does his job and contest a shot, and we're all hard to play against, and it's end of the clock or whatever it might be, we feel like we're a lot of times louder than when the opposing bench went, and even though they made the shot. So it's pretty cool, and just testament to our guys and the mindset we have defensively.
Yeah, such a huge road win, obviously coming back and getting two more at home coming up this week. Just incredibly important, obviously, to pack out the arena and have the home fans going for you guys. What are you excited about regarding this week, and just get us a little snapshot of what you guys are talking about and thinking about? I know one game at a time, we know all that, but
yeah,
how big of a week is this?
Yeah, no, man. Coach said in the locker room after the games, he was so excited for our week of prep last week and how we executed that. And he said, we want to do the same thing this week. Every game's important in conference play, as you guys know, and I know you guys had the bracket up there, and those are all so frequently changing, right? So you want to control what you can control all week. Have great preps. The Thursday games are normally easier because you get 3 to 4 days to prep, and then it's like game and then quick turn one day to prep for the next team, and we'll have some prep days in there with some segments for FGCU, but like you said, main focus is on that Thursday game, and super excited for a chance to play at Liberty Arena again.
Kyle, you played with Georgie Pacheco Ortiz and Chris Parker, and now you got Colin Porter running the point. Can you just compare and contrast those guys a little bit? And from your perspective, how does that stability affect, the offensive system that you guys run?
Yeah, no, I think with those first two guys, Gio and Chris were so special, and I was with them for only a year each, right? And I was there with them for their senior seasons, or they were already established, and you get a guy like CP, man, who is just so confident and so calm in his own way as a freshman, and it reminds you of those guys, and you saw them as seniors, so it's just super unique, man, especially at this level, for a freshman to come in, understand the pack, and then have to run the team on the other end, and just not turn the ball over too. So that's a huge part of his role, but he's just done such a good job. I think he opens things up for Darius, and really makes all of us better. That's the true definition of point guard. He's tough as nails, and can't say enough about CP. And he reminds me so much of Chris and Gio in those ways too.
Kyle, do you feel that Colin is maybe one of the biggest reasons for the massive improvement from last season to this season, and then from the beginning of the season to now, and in limiting turnovers?
Yeah, I think CP's done a great job, especially as a freshman, just taking some ball handling responsibilities off Darius, off myself a little bit, and he's had a tremendous impact on that, man. I think he does such a good job of playing the next play. Like, he does a good job. He wants to be held accountable, but at the same time, he's not harping on a turnover or harping on a mistake defensively. Like, he's done a great job at that, and we've encouraged him in that way. I think we got a really good balance right now of guys that can create for one another and know each other's roles and what people like to do. So that helps with the turnover thing too. And we've been playing with each other for a while now, so some of those early season turnovers go out the window, and now you're starting to click more offensively and know where each other's at. So.
Kyle, I want to switch gears for just a second. We know that you guys talk about culture all the time. It's a huge deal to you all, but at the same time, we all know that culture for us is training champions for Christ. It's the part of one of the reasons why you and all the guys came to be a part of Liberty Nation, if you will. And one of the things, we got a picture there of you guys praying after the game on the court with the opposing team, and something we get a chance to see. We're at the home crowd in the home games after every ball game, those of us who are in attendance. But talk a little bit about how important your faith is and the platform that the Lord's given you with basketball, and how Coach helps to elevate that, and just the overall culture, but what training champions for Christ means inside the program, and how you enjoy playing your faith out.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think the first thing you learn about Coach is when he says your Liberty is a Christian school, he truly means it. I mean, you're getting poured in at a high level from your coaches, from your teammates, to your support staff, academics, all wanting to see your spiritual life succeed. And I think that's been so helpful for me as I've gotten married in college as well. Like, just being able to pursue that marriage aspect and pursue relationships with my teammates in Christ. And I think that's been an amazing step for me in my journey as a person in faith and in basketball. I think oftentimes, like, when you see us praying after games, most of the times it's after wins, but we pray regardless, win or lose with the opposing team. And it kind of just shows, like, hey, like, this faith thing isn't just circumstantial. It's not just when we win and we pray because of that. No, we truly believe that Christ is our Lord and Savior and has our best interest. And we go to him, win or loss. And this basketball thing is just a vehicle for that. So it's been super impactful in my life, man. And I've loved it at Liberty, and just learning and growing in that way.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kyle. Appreciate your time. Huge weekend for you guys. Will said you can come preach at his church anytime.
Anytime.
Have a guest speaker. But we do appreciate it. Big weekend for you guys coming up with Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast. So best of luck. And hopefully, like Jason said, hopefully Liberty Arena's packed out.
Yes, sir. That'd be awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. All right, Jason. What are some of the dynamics that you work with when you're talking about for sale by owner?
Yeah, great question, Nick. A lot of for sale by owners was super popular when we had that seller's market. And so I'm going to take it on both sides here real quick. Just in regards to for sale by owner, when you're selling your house, obviously some big advantages with that. You have an opportunity to save on some commissions and kind of be directly involved in the negotiation side of things as a seller. Downside to it would be the fact that there are a lot of details, over 50, I think, details from what's called contract to close. When that initial contract comes in, to navigating that all the way across the finish line, there's a lot to it. So you can kind of have some challenges with that. On the buying side, I work with buyers all the time who find a for sale by owner house, and they come to me and say, Jason, how does this work? And at that point, I step in and negotiate directly with the sellers, those for sale by owners who are doing that. And I love that opportunity to be able to represent my buyers to those for sale by owners, but we can play both sides of that fence, if you will, and definitely happens more often.
Well, perfect. Well, thanks so much, Jason. Will you be at that games this weekend?
I will. And I just wanted to do a little PSA because next week may be a little tough, Nick. I forgot about your allegiance, brother. And I am a born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri, man. So we may have to figure something out next Sunday. I don't know, brother.
I'm not a big football guy, so I really, honestly, I don't care.
Right.
I would, I would trade the Reds winning like the wild card for the Bengals winning a Super Bowl. So
there you go. Fast story. Hey, fast story though on the hat does tie into Liberty. This is actually from Sam Congato. If you guys remember Sam Con, one of our running backs.
Yeah.
He was with the Chiefs for a while, and he knew I was a career lifelong Chiefs fan, so he hooked me up with a hat back in the day.
All right.
Well, good luck. Well, I'll let you have that one. You guys can win. Just get my Reds back on track, okay?
I'll take it, man. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
well,
Jason.
When we come back, we're going to have our guy Paul Nazigan, but first we got a little clip for you.
3.6 to go. Inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
Unbelievable!
That's the ball game!
Unbelievable!
Fan the flames!
We are witnessing historic moment in Liberty basketball history.
Zeros on the clock. Fan the flames to the biggest victory in school history. Liberty!
Another 12 seed shocks the March Madness world.
The pull up from the logo. Boom! Allen, he's got that look in his eye. Chabelle now up to McGee, who will dunk it ahead of the pack. Wow! There's that vertical leap we keep talking about.
Well, Naz, I had to play an opening video. I thought I'd find some clips where you were on the radio because that might be some audio that people haven't heard. Naz, it's so great to have you on tonight.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me on, guys. I always like joining you guys. You guys do such a great job with your show and for Liberty basketball. And so, yeah, those were fun to hear and relive. Of course, you know, with the NCAA win, I broke all the rules of broadcasting as a color guy. I was jumping all over Nick and you know, I was supposed to lay out. I couldn't. I was absolutely I mean, again, the win was incredible for Liberty University, but like, I mean, my roots go back as a player, as an assistant coach, and then I was on the air, and I just lost all composure. I didn't know what I was just excited and just saying whatever popped into my head. What a great experience, but it's a blessing. I don't say that lightly. To be able to now, you know, do broadcasting, and yeah, I love when I got a chance to jump on radio with Alan. I mean, he's a true top one in the field. I mean, he's just awesome. And I'm glad he's got Smitty now with him alongside. But yeah, I love being on there and talking about Liberty basketball and hopefully the fans enjoy it.
Well, Naz, growing up in, you know, North Carolina and hearing, you know, those tournament games on the radio and stuff, there's not a lot of emotion when Carolina wins a tournament game or Duke wins a tournament game. So I think it makes it much, you know, all that better because you can just hear the emotion in your voice and just the excitement, knowing, you know, your history with the program and with the university. So I love it, man.
Yeah, I just try to be, you know, genuine and, you know, again, and Matt, my partner there is just, I mean, he's just a top professional too. He just makes it so easy. But yeah, we just love talking about the Flames, and it's easy when, man, they're just great to talk about. Their play, their philosophy, Coach McKay and everything, the way they do it, the guys and the character and quality of guys that are in this program. It makes it so easy and a joy and a privilege to talk about.
Well, Naz, if we're fortunate enough to get back to the NCAA tournament, we're going to have to find a way to get you involved with the broadcast somehow. I'm going to start lobbying for it. Maybe you could be like the radio sideline guy, reports from the locker room, something.
I'll do anything. I'll report from outside the arena. Whatever Flames fans need, I'll do it. It'll be great. Yeah, I mean, getting back, and you guys are seeing it in the conference this year especially, man. There's so much parity, and on any given night, man, you better bring your A game, and it's a long way to go. But they're making those tournaments. We got spoiled there for a little while. They're tough to come by, but we got as good a chance as anybody on any year this year too.
We'll get to the ASUN here in just a second, but Naz, I wanted to ask you, felt like that Oral Roberts game after that was the turning point for the season for Liberty. Talk about what you've seen since then, this past weekend. What do you think has been the biggest reason for, I think, maybe one of the best 10-ish game stretches in Liberty basketball history?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things sort of came together, and maybe I don't know if it was the game itself, or maybe then we were about 10 games in, and just the timing of it. But I think the defense really came together, and I think that was just a part of, even though you have so many guys coming back, you add one or two new pieces to that, and that was Porter and Cleveland. So they individually, being brand new, have to learn that system. And then bringing two new guys into a system, you have a whole group that's learning how to play with those guys. And so it takes time. And especially early, Coach McKay, you're experimenting a little bit with lineups and things like that. And so it takes a little while to kind of get all that to gel. And then playing some of those tough teams, you got to learn the hard way and maybe a little trial by fire. So I think at that particular time that was coming together. And then also I think it was guys realizing that offensively, like, we have to find the supporting cast and how they're going to score, and it can't all be Darius again. And I think that was sort of evolving too over those first several games. And coming out of that, I think they both just sort of hit their stride. And again, Darius had always been scoring, and Peebles, but then I think coming out of that, you guys, like, you started to see other people score and contribute. And when both things started clicking, man, I agree. Like, they really have looked good this past stretch since then.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that was a little bit of the downfall to the team last year? I mean, we lost to a transitioning team at home. But we didn't really have the point guard play like it seems like we have with Colin Porter, and maybe Darius was kind of filling in that role. And I know with McKay, anybody can play point, but Colin Porter just seems to have such a grasp on it, and he looks like a sophomore in high school. It's incredible. But I mean, do you think that's maybe the difference from year to year, and maybe this is a better team because of that point guard play?
I think so. I think some of that going down the stretch last year was, I mean, again, Darius had so much on him.
Yeah.
And, you get to that point, and, I think even they were struggling with a few other sort of injuries, maybe a little off the record, and they were just giving everything they had. But, yeah, I think it was just a little bit, maybe just a little too reliant on Darius down the stretch last year. But you're right. I agree. I think the combination of things, Colin Porter has been huge in that role, and, taking that pressure off of Darius to have to bring it up. And not just that, like, and we've seen it. You guys have talked about it. It's not just like he's just taking the ball handling duties away. I mean, man, he is just getting people involved with assists, and now as himself a scorer. So he's made himself into another threat, all of which takes pressure off of Darius, and just running the flow of the offense, which other guys have gotten involved. So a lot of that, I think it's a much better, a more balanced offensive team, and I think that makes them definitely harder to play against.
Yeah, Darius will get double digits, but I don't know who's going to be the second guy or the third guy on any given night. It feels like it's a different guy almost every night, which is really cool, and it's a really fun brand of basketball, I think.
Yeah, it really is, and it's like, just looking over, like, everybody that steps on the court is doing something. Like, I mean, it's amazing. Like, I mean, how about the other night? Zay Warfield, 10 points. I mean, how huge is that? And there's a guy who's always given 100% and great defense and making deflections, and he's putting in 10 and I mean, hit 2 threes. I mean, those are like little dividends and investments that are going to pay off down the road. The paint, I think, has been huge. Like whether it's Blake or Shiloh or on one Blake and Shiloh. I mean, it's like when you counter that, that's another thing I just sort of have seen over the last couple of weeks that I think has really made Liberty tougher is you now have a counter to just shooting a lot of threes. And you've seen people go, all right, we've got to get out and run them off the 3 line. And it's like, that's really made the counter to that is get inside touches. And those guys have made the most of those touches, in a little different ways. I mean, Shiloh really great off the dribble and, spinning back to the rim and Blake just kind of backing a guy down and banging into him and scoring. And both guys have kind of hit the offensive glass. So that's been another thing in the progress of this team is really now having an inside presence that matches an already potent guard play and exterior presence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead, Will.
I was just going to make a comment. It's not really a question, but they almost look like they're playing quicker as well. And I don't know how much of that is just chemistry and gelling at the right time. But, a lot early on in the season, a lot of these turnovers were passes to somebody to who was supposed to be cutting and they weren't cutting or they weren't going the right way. They were zigging when they should have zagged. And now it looks like they kind of know, what they're looking for. Guys are making catches on passes that they weren't earlier in the year. The ball movement looks a little bit crisper and, Kyle Rode is really, maybe should have asked him about this when he was on, but really confident in everything that he's doing. I mean, he's shooting 3, he's going to the rim, he's backing down guys, in the paint. And so it's just a really fun time to be watching this team. But Naz, I was going to ask you the big question. What are you expecting the rest of the way? Do we continue to control games like this, or is there another step from this team that they need to take to continue dominance?
Well, I mean, I think by now, and you sort of led into that, like the chemistry right now is really good. They know each other's skills. They know what they can do. They know what they can't do, which is equally important. They know how they want to play. They have confidence in each other. Late in possessions, you don't see them panicking, or if the ball ends up with in someone else's hands, it's not Darius. Like they know what to do with it, and they've had good success that way. So I don't know that they'll look to change anything or add. I just think they'll keep getting better and more clearly define, what they're doing. They know who they are and how they want to play. And there's going to be some, I think the biggest thing coming out of this past weekend was here's another game. And there's been a couple now, but you learned how to win when Darius has a little bit of an off night. And you talk about making a run for another conference championship and having to play 3 games in a tournament. I mean, chances are one of those, he may be a little off or somebody does a good job of kind of disrupting him. And I think coming out of this weekend, and you have a lot of guys have confidence, and that team has showed we can weather that. Like I think a big stretch was like in the UNF game. So Kyle picks up 2 quick fouls. And, like if there's ever a guy that you could say, just stay out there with 2 and play smart, it'd be Kyle Rode, right? Like he could come over and go, Coach, I'm okay. I'll fit. And Coach was like, no, sit down. And I mean, I think that showed huge trust in the other guys. And they went out there and got it to halftime and kept Kyle out of foul trouble. He comes in, he hits 2 threes right off the bat, and everybody was kind of off and running. But those little things that I think showed a lot of growth and confidence in each other and trust. I think that was kind of a big thing. So coming out of it, 2 great wins, ended a couple win streaks and all that stuff. But I really think they come back home better and deeper and ready to keep winning.
Yeah, and adding on to that, I mean, North Florida also shot 53% from three. So finding a way to win on the road when
Yes.
the other team shoots well from three as well, I think that's another thing that's going to be really important come conference tourney, because sometimes teams just have it, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Nick, they weathered that storm of the birds of Trey, where they were firing them. And I think it was good because, like, again, we were talking about offense, but they didn't let anybody blow up in those two games. And they certainly had guys that could have. Like they held Kevion Nolan of Jacksonville to 9 points. And he's a guy that could just kind of go off. They had a nice, again, Blake and Shiloh's defense on the big kid, Marsh, was good. And then you go to UNF, and like last year we played them, and Hicklin had 31 a couple games prior to our game. Hendrickson at 35. I mean, they got guys that could have just blown up, and they kept them to 14 or something like that. So it's like the defense was there, and you're right, they're hitting shots and maybe a little higher percentage than we'd like to let our opponents get, but they didn't let anybody just sort of explode. And then again, on our end, we had a lot of guys contribute.
All right, let's take a look at the ASUN, Naz. Who stands out to you? I mean, Kennesaw at 7-1. They have just been so impressive. They had a huge week. They've got a pretty formidable schedule for them up until that game. Liberty only plays them once at Kennesaw, about 5 games from now. So I think that game might have a big determination in the rest of the season. Anyone else stick out to you this ASUN season?
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Kentucky there. And again, the only difference, I think, and they're a little newer, so maybe that's why I sort of think this. Like Kennesaw, we saw that coming. Like when they're in the league and they were, I mean, just look back. Every year they've gotten better. We look at the players that Coach Abdur-Rahim was bringing in. You could see their improvement, and really good recruiter. We just sort of knew they were moving up. But Eastern Kentucky, I thought they were maybe a little bit, not to talk bad, but like a little maybe flash in the pan. Because on certain nights they'd be really hot and they like to play fast, but they've really sustained it. And I think they're a legitimate team. But like you guys said earlier, there's a long way to go. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. And I guess in that sense, it kind of helps, just like you can't look ahead because who knows what would happen. So I think that helps the Flames just focus on the next one Thursday night with Stetson. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, huge weekend for Liberty with Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast. They get through that. I mean, I think they're really setting themselves up well, for the end of the year, at least for that big game at Kennesaw coming up. Any other games that you're looking forward to that? You're looking forward to EKU coming to Liberty Arena?
Yeah, I think so. I think that'll be again, with them doing well and us doing well. I think they, again, all good teams, want a chance at revenge or that you come back to our place and let's do it again. I'm looking forward to that, and I know the guys want to get a little redemption there. But these next two are really going to be tough tests. And it's going to take, we're at home, which is great, but I think it's going to take another nights where everybody's finding a way to contribute.
Yeah, Liberty's.
Naz says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Nick.
I was just gonna say Liberty's favored by 11 in both of these games, but they are not like the comfortable 11-point favorites. Like there's some other games where Liberty's 11-point favorite. I feel pretty good, like that Jacksonville State game. I feel pretty good about that 11-point favorite. I don't know. These two, I feel like there's a trap one of these two at least.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. And you said, like, what was it when they went to Jacksonville?
At Jacksonville State, as Ken Pobb says, that's Liberty's favored by 11. I think I feel more comfortable about that than either one of these two home games.
Yeah. I meant this past weekend, you had said the line for.
Oh, it was 4. 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Jacksonville State.
11 at home. Yeah, I'm with you. That doesn't. I just think they're going to be tighter than that. I hope they're 11,
Hope they're 20.
both of those I think are going to be tough tests.
Naz, am I wrong in thinking this, that, those 2 wins against Jacksonville and North Florida, as great as they look in the standings and keep us at the top, those were emotional, mental wins to go on that kind of road trip. And then you get Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast at home with the students back in full force, and you hope it's packed out. Team playing really good, feeling good about themselves. Is Austin Peay, is that a trap game, you think? I mean, are they looking ahead a little bit towards Lipscomb being, a little bit more history there?
Yeah, it could. It certainly could be, especially, we get through, like sort of like you said, that's not just like a 2-game. That would be like a 4-game stretch of really tough teams, and hopefully we come out, with 2 more victories. And yeah, that would be not only with, them with Austin Peay being a little toward the bottom of the conference, but fatigue and maybe a little celebration. So yeah, they'll have to, coach will have them ready when they get there. But as we look ahead, certainly that has the makings of some of that. But yeah, like you said, they're not to diminish what they did down there. I mean, these great wins and things like that. Certainly, like that's part of that confidence. They went down there and had never beaten North Florida on that floor. That's big, and North Florida, they gave it a great shot. And again, I sort of said all along, that Jacksonville team, they really pride themselves on their defense, and to go in there and beat them by 14. I mean, again, break the streak and all that, and beat them by 4. I mean, handily, that was a real dominating performance. So, yes, great to get the W. But again, I think those things are huge moving forward as that team really believes in itself.
66 points at Jacksonville is deceiving how good of a performance that is with the style they play and all of that. Naz, 2 more quick things before we get you out of here. I just wanted to kind of look at our net breakdown this season. Any thoughts on any of the non-conference games? This is the first time we've had you in this year. Any of the games that have been played really stand out to you?
Yeah, I don't feel so bad about the Alabama loss. I mean, and I think we all, Scar and us on our show, you guys, I think we all sort of came out of there going, oh, we thought the Liberty would be better. And no, they're beating everybody by 40. So I think that means we're right in there with some of those other, SEC teams that they've blown out. But the Bradley win was just a grindy, ugly, gutsy win. Bryant, I think, and I've not really looked at their record lately, but I know they're a good team, just a hard-nosed, quality opponent. So I know that was a good victory. Again, and we've all kind of talked about it. It's a 1-bid league. So I guess you can't, you glean what you can from those games, win or lose. And, but I don't know that it really has any kind of impact moving forward. And you just got to do it in the ASUN tournament.
I wonder if Liberty had won that Southern Miss game, I wonder if they would almost be close to the at-large consideration. Because I've seen some people have them as a 12 seed, so that means you're in the conversation. If you're, that's one that, man, I'm sure. I mean, it was such a great performance in the second half, but it's one of those that like the EKU game. Hey, you didn't shoot good. It is what it is. That's maybe like the one game that maybe got away from that they wish they could probably have back. Yeah,
I agree, Nick. That's the first half of that was just that was like Revenge of the Body Snatchers or something. I don't know what team was out there for that first half. That was not us. But you're right. Great comeback in the second half, and that's probably the one that kind of if there was the one that got away, it was definitely that one.
All right, I know we've talked quite a bit about different players. Any other players that maybe we haven't mentioned that have really just kind of stood out to you, their play this year for Liberty?
Well, I think it's very interesting, and this is where you guys are incredible. But like I always look at this, and I hope Joe Van Zandt's getting talked about enough, and I know you guys do, and we do, and I like people in general. I don't know that they know what he's really doing out there. If you just sort of are there and watching the game, people look at points and stuff like that, but. I highlighted him a couple games ago because I'm like, the guy is impacting the game as much as the people in the stat column. And it's great to see, 13 rebounds the other day. That was just awesome. I mean, he's out there playing tough D. I mentioned, they didn't let anybody explode for big points. I mean, a lot of that's him. Him and Zay are just, it's huge what they do defensively. And again, it's a team game, but I like seeing them up there and people recognize like he had Blake. It's nice to see the last couple games. It's been sort of the unsung heroes, some of the guys that don't get all the publicity. Again, I mentioned Zay with his 10 points the other night. Blake's had some great games. Shiloh, a couple big ones. And so, we've been talking a lot about Kyle and Darius and Brody and Colin, but you're just really seeing this is a team where everybody can contribute in certain ways, is ready to give up minutes when coach thinks, hey, I don't need you as much. I mean, that kind of stuff, you cannot. There are teams all over the country right now that splintering and guys are mad and they're not getting enough minutes and they're not getting enough shots. And like, I'm telling you, that stuff can just eat away at teams. And you got guys that are willing to take on whatever role coach needs them for, starting, coming off the bench, whatever minutes, and they step out there and they're doing something that's helping the team lead to wins. That's huge. So, everybody up there, everybody on your chart, man.
Yeah, I love Van Zandt. I love his game. When I saw him in person, I was just blown away how incredible of a rebounder he is at 6'3". Just he gets up so high. I feel like Van Zandt. We're looking ahead here. I feel like he could be like that guy that takes like that Caleb Holmesley type leap. And once he maybe develops his 3-point shot a little bit better, which I know everyone talks about, he's got that in his arsenal, just hasn't been able to show it yet. I mean, do you kind of see him maybe potentially being an all conference type player, post Darius, maybe post Kyle, when it kind of becomes a little bit more of his team?
Yeah. And again, I think when Darius moves on, like everyone's going to have to, step up a little more. And certainly everybody works on your game and you improve, but taking on maybe a little more scoring. And here's the thing, like in a program where, the three is so big and he doesn't need to be a 3-point shooter. I mean, you look at all these teams, they have, what you call the slasher. And I think he'd be a great slasher where, he's and we see him, he does a lot of great backdoor cuts and he'll get fed by Kyle or somebody. But even with the ball, like I could see him really, developing that thing where he can just catch it at 15 and just slash and kind of get it up on the rim or get to the free throw line. And so, yeah, like everybody will need to develop a little more. Doesn't mean he has to be the 3-point shooter, but yeah, I look for all these guys. I mean, that's part of the little, like we saw a little bit of that with Zay the last few games, scoring a little more. I think he's sort of expanding himself and put another, 6 months under those guys, and not to look too far ahead, but yeah, I think you got a lot of pieces that will build and improve even for next year.
Since we're talking about comparisons with Van Zandt and Holmesley, let me ask you this one. I don't know if Tim Scarborough's watching tonight or listening. He might be traveling, but that dunk that Shiloh had, North Florida, put that guy on a poster. Is that one of the best dunks in Liberty history? Is that better than the Scar dunk? What do you think? Put you on the spot.
Scar's dunk was amazing just because we didn't know he could jump that high. But no, there's been some great ones, and somebody that has access to the archives would be something to really put a bunch together. We saw Holmesley with a few, Scotty James with some thunderous ones, but that one the other day, Shiloh, that was really impressive. That was one of the best. And then some of these alley-oops these guys are throwing, Porter's throwing them up, and that's been really fun to watch. That's not really been characteristic, I guess, of our team. And so there's another little thing that is fun to watch, but they're really utilizing it. I mean, not for the showmanship of it. I mean, you get Darius coming in or Porter coming in, and it just draws the defense. It draws everybody's attention. And then you got some of these high flyers you can just throw it up to and get it away from everybody's hands. And they've just found other ways to score like that. It's been really fun and tough to guard.
Well, Naz, we really appreciate you taking some time to come on and join us. You are the absolute best. We are so happy that you represent Liberty basketball, and keep up the great work, and enjoy this ride the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on. Appreciate everybody listening. And, I'll come back on maybe right before tournament time. You guys always have a great show for the tournament setup. So, again, all the best to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yep,
thanks.
thank you.
All right, we're going to have a quick word from Ironclad Coffee. Then we'll come back with Ritchie Longshots in the Liberty line.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, but you can enjoy their crafted roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it'll be roasted to your order and shipped out directly to your doorstep.
Whenever you find yourself in the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and are pleased to sponsor these podcasts by Sea Red. Hop on over to their website at www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
Welcome back, Ritchie Longshots. We had you in pre-recorded video form last week, but good to have you back in the flesh with us.
It's great to be back. Last week I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it, and I wasn't gonna make it, so it all worked out. So I had to jump into the studio, get the headphones out, and put a little something together. So it ended up being a decent week. I don't want to bury the lead. I was worried. It was going to be my built-in excuse. You always need a built-in excuse. And I went, if I tank this week, I'm just going to chalk it up to not being on the podcast. So I was a little worried going into Saturday. I'm not going to lie. I think I was like 3-4 going into the final week. And then we had a good day on Saturday, which was yesterday. And I went, all right, we're back above 500. The train keeps rolling, and just ride that momentum week to week. And if I keep looking up, it's because there's a football game on or something. So that would be the reason behind that.
They still play football, huh? Interesting. All right. Yeah, I had a bad week. 4-7. We all had a bad week, except for you. Stunning. Let's see what we got cooking this week. All right. I love this game. Big Monday. Kansas at Baylor. Have you seen the real line for this?
Yeah, when I looked this morning, it was 3.5.
Baylor?
Yeah, -3.5.
Everyone fading Kansas after that abysmal performance on Saturday against TCU. I wanted to go Kansas just because I wanted that, they're gonna come back fired up from that, but I'm just like, Baylor only laying 2 at home, or only 2 at home. It's just not too much.
Kansas, obviously, they lost to K-State last week. I think it was last Tuesday. We had that game on the sheet. Lost to TCU. Kansas 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, and the spread already moving from 2 to Some books had it 3. The largest number was 3.5. Wouldn't be shocked if it gets to 4 by the time they tip tomorrow. But no, give me Baylor. I like what I've seen from Baylor, Kansas. It's that national championship hangover. We've seen it, Carolina getting to the national championship, kind of underperforming. Kansas is getting into that realm. So plus they got the look ahead against Kentucky. So it's very interesting spot for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't go against Baylor, but I'm worried about that. Kansas needs this one, or
yeah,
that's kind of, trying to get the train back on the tracks, but that'll be a fun game to watch. Also tomorrow, Duke at Virginia Tech. Man, I went back and forth. I think this line actually opened -1, which I like a little more for Virginia Tech. I went with Duke. I feel like Duke really needs this one on the road. Why'd you go Virginia Tech?
Very simple. I hate Duke. Said it before. I'll say it again. Doesn't matter who they're playing. I hate Virginia Tech too. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go Virginia Tech. Both teams very bad against the spread. Combined, they're 1-9. Combined in their last 10. Duke, however, 1-7 this year against the spread away from home. Anytime Duke comes to town, you're going to get the students fired up. So I imagine Blacksburg is going to be rocking. I don't know the name of Virginia Tech's basketball arena. I don't even know if they play Enter Sandman like they do in football games, but I'm going to assume it's going to be rocking. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a tough place to play. And there's some whispers. John Shire's in over his head, but those are just whispers that I've heard in my own head. So Virginia Tech it is.
It is Castle Coliseum, and I have been to a game there.
Oh.
I saw the Liberty Flames take a 4-point lead into halftime at Virginia Tech and lose the game by like 30.
That doesn't sound like the mid-2000 Liberty sporting teams.
Sure was. It's a terrible arena. I cannot believe it's an ACC arena. It's a dump, but neither here nor there. All right. Wednesday, good one. Xavier at UConn. Xavier, my local team. I went with UConn. UConn's rolling. They lost at Xavier. They kind of have this, they need the redemption. I think UConn's going to win this. 8 is a lot, but yeah, I went with the Huskies.
I think it's a lot of points. UConn's kind of tailed off a little bit. Were they top 5 at any point this year? They were up there.
They were 2.
Yeah, they were 2. Kind of faded a little bit. Lost to Seton Hall. Not very good this year. Lost to St. John's, who's not good at all this year. I think the game's going to be a shootout. Both teams score points. And, in that situation, give me the 8. I just think it's too many. 5, maybe I would have leaned towards UConn, but 8, I'll go with Xavier and hope they, go on the road. Keep it close.
UConn is 2-5 in their last 7 games, and they are still ranked number 6 in the country in KenPom.
Yeah, I think in college basketball right now we have like 2 or 3 teams that are really, really good, and then from like 5 to 25, it's just anything can happen. There's a lot of parity this year.
Number 1 Houston lost at home today to 113 Temple.
Yeah, and say Temple's bad.
Did you see what Temple tweeted after the game?
I did not.
No,
one was
probably
for you.
a warning for their students to stay inside because there's crime all around that campus.
It said that one was for you, Phillies, which I thought was funny.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, in Tennessee, they're ranked number 2 in KenPom. They got waxed by Kentucky. Yeah. They got waxed by Colorado on a neutral. It's going to be I feel like we say this almost every year, but I do feel like it's going to be a really fun tournament because I don't know. I don't think there's like a true number 1. I thought Houston, but lose at home to Temple, it's really going to make me question a lot of things.
No, I agree. And everyone, not to go on a tangent, but everyone was bashing NIL and the transfer portal. But I truly believe that stuff like this allows for parity, allows for players to get opportunities to play elsewhere and to go to places they might not normally have gone to. I mean, look at TCU going on a run this year in college football. Look at, just the upsets we've had this year so far in college basketball. Gonzaga just lost at home for the first time in forever. So I think that is a piece of it. I don't think it's perfect. I do think there are some positives, but I think adding parity to college sports is something that will come from it.
All right, the next one, Utah State at San Diego State. San Diego State's a really tough environment to play, and Utah State, according to Shot Quality, the number one place to get some betting info. Utah State, one of the luckiest teams in the country. So that's why I went with San Diego State.
I'd rather be lucky than good. I faded San Diego State 2 weeks ago when we had them. I don't remember who they played, but I went against San Diego State and it worked out. I think they lost outright. I'd have to look. San Diego State 6-12 this year against the spread, 2-9 at home. Also, don't love this game's at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
That's beautiful.
That is, I will be in bed, maybe, but nice late night, like Hawaii football. Just maybe I'll stay up to watch a little bit of this game. But no, going with Utah State because I went against the Aztecs 2 weeks ago. I'm a loyal guy, so we're just gonna keep fading them.
All right. Some of those spreads were pretty big though that they didn't cover. So we'll see if about 5. I hate myself for picking Florida Gulf Coast. They have been my biggest real life loser. I think Queens is fading faster than FGCU faded. I don't know. I have no real lean on. I would never bet real money on this game.
No, both these teams combined 2-8 against the spread in their last 10. I'm going to be honest. You know how I picked this game? I flipped a coin. Said heads, Florida Gulf Coast. Tails, Queens. Flipped it. Tails. Queens is the pick. I got nothing. Same boat. This game's I'm the same with. I'm wrong on Florida Gulf Coast every time. Doesn't matter the direction. It doesn't matter how. I'm wrong. So, it doesn't matter. Didn't matter if I picked Florida Gulf Coast, Queens would win. If I took Queens, Florida Gulf Coast is going to cover. So if you're watching this at home and you are a bettor, take Florida Gulf Coast because I bet Queens.
Yeah. The only team I've been able to handicap well has been the Jacksonville Dolphins. 7-0 in real life wagers on them. No idea how. And they've both gone either way. All right, Stetson at Liberty. We were split on this. 11 is a lot. This line just kept creeping up. And Stetson, they're such a good offensive team, but their defense isn't good. And a bad defensive team coming into Liberty Arena. I think the Flames are able to get this up into the double digits.
Too many points. That's my motto for the week. We all saw yesterday they almost didn't cover the 9 that we had. Some people had 11.5, and someone might have passed up an easy 2 points that would have covered for everyone. But I don't think this Liberty team knows. They don't get the situation. And 11 points, like if they're up by 10, missing free throws yesterday. It was a whole big. I didn't have money on the game, and I was getting mad about it because I had it for the podcast. And I had people in my DMs like, what did you have it at? It was the spread was all over the place. So it was right there, double digits. I think we win by 10, not 11. Just too many points.
All right. That's exactly why I went with Austin Peay in the next game. Kennesaw's coming off some real emotionally charged wins. I think they're going to let Austin Peay hang around. I think 10's too many. That's my logic.
I get Austin Peay is bad.
They're awful.
They lost their last 4 by more than 10 points. So I in my head, I think it's going to be kind of the opposite, where Kennesaw State just runs them out of the gym the first half, and then they kind of like sneak back. It's like, all right, they're up by 15 with 10 to go, and then they're up by 12 with 5 to go, and now I have to find the game on ESPN Plus. My wife's getting mad because I got the other TV with Law and Order on. Like, it's just, I just already know how this is going to end on Thursday night. It's just going to be with me having to watch the end of this game. But I just think Kennesaw State 11-12. But again, it's going to be close. It's just going to be bad all around.
I totally see it going the other way. Kennesaw overtime win at Stetson, 2-point win at Florida Gulf Coast. They had an emotional weekend. They're coming home playing a garbage team. I think they're going to come out and it's going to take them a while to find themselves. So I think it'll be the opposite. I don't know. We'll see.
Might be a Austin P first half Kennesaw State game parlay.
Yeah, Austin P would be a good first half bet. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'll put that back in my head. All right, Kansas at Kentucky. I mean, Kansas is just so much better. Like, this is one of those don't be stupid. They're the better team.
Yeah. Like, just don't overthink it. Like a certain someone did, trying to be cute. No, Kansas again. I didn't sing Kansas any praises 10 minutes ago, but they're better than Kentucky. I don't care where this game is being played. Are these games? Yeah, that's it. Are these cross conference games? They're not.
Yeah, it's a Big 12. SEC challenge.
It's not neutral site, right? The game is
at Rupp. Yeah, at Rupp. I think Kansas will probably be like 3-point favorites in this game.
Yeah, I think it'll because it's logical. Kansas is the better team.
Yeah.
Take it. Anything under 3 points, Kansas.
Vegas gonna try to sucker people into taking Kentucky.
Yes.
Alabama at Oklahoma. I mean, Alabama's just so much better. They've been a wagon this year. Tough game on the road. Weird, in the middle of conference play. 6 is a lot, but I don't know. I can't go against Bama at this point.
No, who did Oklahoma? Yeah, who did Oklahoma just beat? They had a decent win recently, so I think that's going to inflate things a little bit, which will be helpful with the number for Alabama.
Everyone in the Big 12 beats everyone.
Yeah, all the way around.
Oklahoma does not have a good win this year.
Did they win their last game?
Nope, they've lost 2 in a row. Their best win of the year is number 28 West Virginia in Ken Palm, who's 11-8.
West Virginia's 28. That is shocking.
Yeah,
I'm probably confusing them with one of the other Oklahoma schools.
Ken Palm, man, this year has some real like stinky teams that have really have some inflated metrics. Like I just said with UConn, they're 6th in the country and they're 2-5 in their last 7. Like that's pretty insane. Stetson at Queens. I think Stetson wins this game by a ton. I think they are so much better than Queens. They've played well on the road this year. Stetson has been a wagon. So I can't go against Liberty right now, although I did on Saturday. But Stetson's a wagon.
I wrote on, I think it's a 50-50 game. I think Stetson takes it out, though. Probably not a 50-50 game, maybe 60-40. I love the over in this game. Don't know what it is yet, but I already love it. Whatever it is, hammer it, because this is going to be very little defense played. Saturday showcase, just points.
That is a good call. Yes, definitely. This is a good one for the over. All right, and lastly, Florida Gulf Coast at Liberty. Florida Gulf Coast has been a massive disappointment in the ASUN. 12 points is just too many against a team that is the only team that I think has potentially as much talent as Liberty. 12 points is too much for that.
Yeah, so I'm saying everything I said for the Stetson game, copy and paste at Florida Gulf Coast. I just don't know if we'll be at the end of the game foot on the gas, cover the spread type mode.
Yeah. All right, well, that wraps it up. Any final thoughts for us as we got a Hail Mary coming up here in the National Football League?
Oh, well, glad I could be on live with you all this week. Doc, I enjoyed watching a little bit of the sermon this morning. Got to give us a little bit more of a heads up, and I'll tune in live in real time on next Sunday. I'm a church free agent, so I'm looking for options. So willing to give anything a chance. They're not going to score a touchdown. Let's be real. It's the Cowboys. But no, we're getting into the swing of college basketball season. I would say once we get through that first UNC Duke game, everything picks off. Everything kicks off even more. So February's coming up, and I'm excited. I'm going down to Liberty Arena Super Bowl weekend. So excited to catch the EKU game. And Nick, you're going down next weekend?
Unfortunately, it's not happening.
I'm sorry.
Had a setback, but hopefully I can get down there sometime soon. But yeah. Well, you enjoy it. We're just over a month away from conference tournaments. February 27th is the ASUN start. So
that's crazy. What I don't remember from last year. Do they play those games during the day?
Nah, they're all at night. They're
all at night. Okay.
Yeah, they don't stagger them either, which is so dumb. Like, why would you have a conference tournament and not like even if like you did like 6:30, 7:30, like stagger them a little bit so people could watch a little bit of the other ones. I don't. Yeah. So the ASUN had Kennesaw State and they're number 1 in their power rankings, so they don't know what they're doing. So
we won't worry about it next season.
Yeah. Yeah, those will all. I think they play that on a neutral in Texas, right? And
probably.
And those will all be. That's fun. I cannot wait for a tournament like that. That was one thing I loved about the Big South was I was dialed in from noon to 10 o'clock at night. It was awesome.
One game goes to overtime, and now all the other games are getting pushed back. Like the sports books don't realize that the games are getting pushed back. It's a mess, but it's in a good way.
Yeah. All right.
But thank you guys.
We'll see you next week, hopefully.
We'll see you.
All right. Well, that about wraps up the show for tonight. Just take a quick peek here at the upcoming schedule. Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast. Will, any final thoughts as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just, these next 2 games are big at home, coming off of, like we talked about with Naz, some, emotional, some mental wins that were tough games. And so 2 more tough games. So you hope they stay up for these, and then aren't looking too far past Austin Peay and Lipscomb before they get back home to Bellarmine.
There's always the possibility of just some weird clunker. But
there's always going to be that, yeah.
But these 2 games at Kennesaw are the only games that I have real concern over. I think maybe at Queens, maybe that back-to-back, maybe something weird there. But, man, you get through these 2, I think Liberty's sitting really, really well as we get close to conference tournament play, which, 5 weeks away. 5 weeks from tomorrow, I believe, is the round that Liberty won't be playing in. But excited about that. Next week we will be back on Tuesday night, so plan your lives accordingly. As always, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, and if you're there, hit the like button. Really appreciate that. And then the podcast version also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So subscribe, 5-star review, all that kind of fun stuff. Well, thanks again to our guests, Kyle Rode, Jason Porter, Paul Nazigan, and Ritchie Longshots. Really appreciate everyone coming on. This was a fun show for me, at least. Until next time, go Flames.